Today, I want to show you how to install Chatterbox TTS Server, which runs on pretty much any machine, and how to use it in any n8n workflow, but also how to get a free ElevenLabs API key so that we can use their TTS as well. We will also look at the things that could go wrong and how to fix them easily. I am going to integrate the nodes into a workflow that I built in my previous video. It reads information online and produces a written AI summary which gets sent to Telegram or any other messenger app. And today, I basically want to turn it into a narrated summary such as this.
The top posts on Reddit's Stable Diffusion community highlight advancements in image editing with SDXL
At
and
the end,
innovative techniques.
we'll be able to switch between both Chatterbox and ElevenLabs for the text-to-speech generation. And if you don't want to build it yourself, you will find all my workflows on my Patreon, along with detailed step-by-step guides. If you're interested in seeing any of this in action, then you're more than welcome to join my Telegram channel to check out the n8n bot. We will start by getting the ElevenLabs API key and adding the ElevenLabs node to our n8n workflow. Then we'll install Chatterbox TTS Server before incorporating that into our workflow as well. To get a free ElevenLabs API key, you need to have an account first, and if you don't have one yet, you could use this link to sign up, which will support my channel. Once logged in, simply click on your account and then on API keys. There you can create your key, and besides setting text-to-speech to has access, I also recommend setting the projects, voices, and user to read only. When you're done, click on Create. The API key will only be shown once, so just leave that window open or copy the key somewhere, since we will need it in a second. But if you lose it, you can just create a new key. If you're interested in learning more about both ElevenLabs and Chatterbox, then check out this video. It covers both tools in great detail, including their pros and cons. Now let's add the ElevenLabs node to our existing workflow right after the AI node. Search for ElevenLabs in the node list, and since it's one of the nodes that needs to be installed first, click Install. Once it's done, select the text-to-speech action to add the node to your workflow. Next, we need to add our credentials. Just copy and paste the API key you got from ElevenLabs. By the way, if you get an error here, it's most likely because the access settings of your API key are incorrect. In that case, just go back to your ElevenLabs account and adjust the settings to fix it. Once the connection test is successful, you can close the credentials window. This brings you back to the ElevenLabs node, where you can choose a voice from the drop-down list. To map the text that should be converted to speech, we first need to run the previous nodes. This will allow the ElevenLabs node to see the available inputs. So run the previous node to expose the field that contains our AI-generated summary. Now you can map the output field, or whichever field contains your text. The preview should look good, so go ahead and run the node. If you'd like, you can download and listen to the generated audio right from here. But we want to send it to Telegram, and since we have a Telegram node already, we could just change its action to Send Audio File. But since your workflow could look different, let's do it from scratch and delete the node and add a new Telegram node with the Send Audio File action. First, make sure that the right credentials are selected and enter the chat ID. Toggle binary file to on, which will fill in data in the input binary field. This matches our output from the ElevenLabs node, which is why we can click on Execute Step Now.
The top posts on Reddit's Stable Diffusion community highlight.
This next step is optional, which is why I won't go into much detail, but you could add another code node here and ask an AI assistant for the code to rename our audio file. It should be a very easy task for a ChatGPT or Claude AI. Remember to save your workflows often. And if you want your message pinned in Telegram, then you only need to add the node with that action behind the node which sends the audio, and give it the chat and the message ID. Now it's time to install Chatterbox TTS Server. Just a heads up, you might run into some errors while installing the tool. And to avoid the first one, make sure you're using Python 3.10, as the tool seems to be quite picky about the version. You can easily install it from the Microsoft Store. Before moving on, open a command window and type Python to confirm you're using the right version. Let's open the official install instructions and get started by copying and pasting the first command into a command prompt. Then do the same with the second command. Now, when you run the next command to create the Python environment, you might get an error. If that happens, don't worry, you'll find the fix in the video description. Just run this command, and after that, you should be able to create the environment without any issues. And should you encounter these warnings, just ignore them. After running this command, which activates the environment, you can scroll down to the NVIDIA installation section or to the section of whichever system you're using. While running the first command, I got an error related to the pip installer, but it's easy to fix. Just run the command it suggests. After that, you can install all the requirements. This part takes a while, but it's the last step of the installation. Once it's done, run this command to check if everything went well. Hopefully, this number is much higher for you when you run the command, but we can move on as long as it says CUDA is available. Now we just need to start the server using this command. The first time it runs, it will trigger some downloads. By the way, when you restart your PC later, you will need to activate the environment again before starting the server. Just run these commands to get everything running again. During the end of the installation, make sure to allow Python to run if prompted, and the UI should open automatically in your browser. You can use the UI to generate speech, as you can see, but we need to look at something else, and that is the API documentation, which you can reach by adding docs to the URL. If you're new to using APIs, I recommend checking out the free Make Academy. It covers APIs and a lot of other useful info that's great for working with n8n. Scroll down and you will find the TTS section. Just keep the site open in the background, as we'll have to get back to it in a minute. Let's switch to n8n and disconnect our ElevenLabs node. Since there's no node for Chatterbox, we need to use an HTTP request node, which can be used with any API. First, we set the method to post, and then we enter the URL that our TTS server is running on. Since we are using Docker, we need to replace localhost with host.docker.internal. And we also need to add TTS at the end of the URL. Enable the sending of headers and enter accept under name and application/JSON under value. Turn on the send body toggle and change specify body to using JSON. Now let's copy the entire request body from the docs. Keep in mind, this is just an example and won't work as is. It basically contains all the settings for TTS generation, like the ones you would normally set in a UI. The first key is the text. To map in our AI-generated text, we need to run the AI node first. That way, we can drag its output into our JSON body. Sometimes it doesn't drop exactly where you let it go, but you can just copy and paste it into the correct spot manually if needed. Now we need to tell Chatterbox which voice we want to use. To list all the available predefined voices, duplicate your HTTP request node by copying and pasting it. This node doesn't have to be connected to the rest of your workflow. Just place it anywhere and open its configuration. Then check the docs to find the endpoint that lists all voices. Copy that endpoint and replace the part of the URL that says TTS with it. Change the HTTP method to GET and execute the node. You should see a response listing 28 voices, and when you switch the view to table, you can make it easier to browse. Find the voice you want to use and then copy its file name. Finally, go back to your original TTS request node and paste that file name into the predefined voice ID field where it says string. For the rest of the settings, I went back to the Chatterbox UI and simply used the default values shown there. I recommend starting with these defaults as they work well out of the box, and then fine-tuning them over time to match your preferences. When you execute the node, you can check the command window to see detailed logs of what Chatterbox is doing. And you should now have an audio file that was generated entirely on your machine. In case you get this error message saying that the server is offline, even though the server is working fine, simply increase the value for the timeout here. Let's see if our code node that renames the file still works. And since it does, we can now make sure that the entire workflow runs fine. Now is a good time to rename your nodes so their names clearly reflect what they do. That way, you can understand your workflow at a glance without having to open each node. And that's it. You now have a complete workflow that allows you to switch between ElevenLabs and Chatterbox TTS. In the next videos, I'll show you more of what my bot can do, like fetching prices from Amazon for hardware deals, or downloading and posting videos. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss it. And I hate to say it, but pressing that bell really helps. If you've learned something new, I'd appreciate if you liked or shared the video, and I'll see you next time.